A warm welcome back to your latest industry analysis video right here on GlobeTrotting. The scheduled delivery of a new 787 appears now not to be proceeding, as Juneyao Airlines is refusing it. The landmark decision highlights a broader industry problem involving political tensions surrounding the acquisition of commercial aircraft. If the troubled political climate continues, Juneyao Airlines could very well set a trend that becomes all too familiar across our industry. So why is this Chinese operator refusing the 787 Dreamliner, and what is next? So first of all, according to sources exclusive to Bloomberg, Juneyao has formally decided to delay acquisition efforts of a lone 787 Dreamliner. The delays stem from the additional costs that would be incurred when the new plane would be delivered from the American plane maker, presenting a far from optimal scenario. Juneyao did not predict, obviously, that the additional costs would be a factor when it purchased the planes and scheduled the delivery. As a result, it's reassessing options and delaying those acquisition plans. The 787 Dreamliner is very important to the Chinese carrier, as any aircraft would be for any airline, but for Juneyao, they rely on this type. It's the only wide-body in their operation, and because therefore of this fleet composition, it remains the only type capable of serving high-capacity markets and obviously travelling across your long-haul international routes. While the airline deems delaying the 787 Dreamliner's arrival as a necessary precaution, it does hurt them in terms of meeting growth and adds a lot more complexity to schedule changes that may have been planned. These schedule changes would have reflected a positive growth. Now that can't happen. Ongoing tensions are really a driving force as to why this is all happening. Juneyao delaying it is not because of maybe quality issues that would have happened in the past. No, it's because of the political unrest. Since the beginning of 2025, we know there's been a lot of unrest between countries stemming from the United States with a change in administration there. And with more threats of tariffs and trade wars, the unrest is especially felt by those who need to deal with the companies in this country. A trade war between the United States and China has been also ongoing. However, the unrest has only increased tenfold and is now having a more profound impact on specific sectors. I'm just here covering the aviation industry. In essence, because of these tensions, companies such as Juneyao Airlines, which is attempting to take delivery of new planes from the United States, are now incurring additional costs. What is worse still is the 787, like I touched on, is crucial for their fleet growth and aligning with business and route network development. If new plane deliveries can't occur, well, Juneyao's market share is at risk. Because of those additional costs spurred on by political tensions, Juneyao doesn't believe it can justify the costs associated with taking delivery of the plane. So, therefore, you've got your main reason right there. Why would they want to take on said plane if they're going to be paying more than what they expected? It is really a short-term vision for them. They obviously hope it will clear up, but for now, that doesn't seem apparent. Ultimately, given that Boeing is an American plane maker, a lot of focus is going to rest on them, who will be affected by the current trade wars, and rightfully so. If tariffs were to be imposed for an extended period, the costs of acquiring new planes would continue across many airlines right around the world. That is why the general consensus is that while Juneyao is the only airline that has made such a measure at the moment, they may not be the last. If the costs cannot be justified to take on said plane, while acquisition efforts may be delayed in a form of relief. The thing is, Airbus also has visible concerns about how they will deal with some of their largest customers based in the United States, as tariffs ultimately threaten the relationship and delivery process. Delta has heavily committed to Airbus-produced aircraft, and aside, to be honest, from a deal with Boeing and the 737 MAX, it has really switched allegiances to rely more heavily on the European plane maker, which would have been totally fine at any other point. If that's the right decision for them, then that's the right decision. But as tensions rise between the United States and other parts of the world, Airbus has said it would not hesitate to prioritize other global airlines that don't impose additional costs on them to deliver said planes to said airline. In fact, Delta has also responded to all of this, saying it would not take on planes from Airbus if the costs associated with bringing the jet on would continue to rise. You can see the crossroads that we're at. If implemented, what this means for US airlines does remain unknown. However, the hypotheticals all circle back to the profound impact for all parties involved. Airlines do require new aircraft to grow, not only to improve their finances, but to stay competitive and retire some of their older jets in operation. Meanwhile, aircraft manufacturers, well, they're driven by their purpose of delivering planes to airlines to fuel their targets, and if none of this can happen, then everyone's impacted. Unfortunately, with the political landscape ever evolving and no decision seemingly set in stone, Juneyao Airlines remains the only Chinese operator to defer the delivery of new Boeing planes. But again, it may not be the last. It also doesn't mean that things can't be rectified in a week. That is the nature of political unrest, and if you've been keeping close tabs, you'll know it changes on a day-to-day basis. Airlines, for now, must evaluate what's before them and make pretty crucial decisions, but necessary ones. If things change, they can just simply readjust. For now, reactions must be made based on the unfolding situation with the company's best interests in mind. Keen to hear your take down below in the comments. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. Take care, do be safe, and I'll see you in a couple of days for your latest industry recap.